Logical morning, everyone. Welcome to Vidhigya presents the Hindu newspaper analysis. Today's session will have following segments. First, overview of today's newspaper. Second, must-know topics and explanation. And third, quiz time with 5 important questions. So these are the 3 segments that we will discuss in today's newspaper. Now, overview of today's newspaper. So first topic is Russia says some troop pulling back from areas near Ukraine. So in this topic, we will discuss the Russia-Ukraine crisis and what is the future course of action, that what is the current situation and how the major countries like USA, Germany are reacting to this situation. Then the second important topic is anti-lynching bills passed by 4 states hanging fire. So in this topic, we will discuss in detail about anti-lynching bill, what is the stand of union government and what is the stand of Supreme Court. Amid the Russia-Ukraine crisis, India advises its citizens to leave Ukraine temporarily. Now, another topic is Supreme Court to hear legal tussle over services on March 3. So in this topic, like there is a dispute between center and Delhi government over the control of the services. So the matter has been listed before the Supreme Court, and whenever the matter will be decided by the court, we'll discuss in detail. So there is a dispute regarding head of Department of Joint Secretary could be directly submitted to Lieutenant Governor as far as Danix, that is Danix is a cadre in UPSC. Kadarwood was concerned, the files could be processed through the Council of Ministers led by Chief Minister. So there is a dispute regarding the services like Danix and other services. Who will have the control? Is it the Delhi government or is it the central government that will have the control? So the matter is before the Supreme Court. Now, another topic is India has positive secularism, petitioners tell Karnataka High Court. So as all of you must be aware about the hijab controversy, and yesterday Karnataka High Court, like the matter is sub judice in Karnataka High Court, but till now Karnataka High Court said that any religious symbol like hijab is banned in the school premises. So the petitioners tell there is a difference between the secularism in Turkey and India has a positive secularism. So here you need to know what is positive secularism. So the constitution of Turkey is completely different. Our secularism is positive, where the state plays an enabling role for the exercise of fundamental rights and the religious freedom of all community. So positive secularism means where the state has the responsibility, state has an enabling role to ensure that the rights of people are granted. So state takes affirmative action in order to ensure that the rights of the petitioners or rights of any community of the society is exercised properly. So this is positive secularism. In negative secularism, the state does not have that such enabling role. It is up to the community. But in positive secularism, state government has the responsibility. The constitution enables the state government to take affirmative actions in order to ensure that the secular practices and in order to ensure that the practices of the particular community can be exercised well. Now, this topic, gaming and banning. In this topic, we will discuss about the online gaming, that why various state governments are coming with the law which bans the online gaming. In this topic, we will discuss about difference between the game based on luck and game based on skill. And then we will discuss the grounds on which the high courts have struck down the law banning online gaming. And then why we need ventilation and air purifier. So as all of you know about the COVID virus, and you all know that ventilation is very important to tackle with along with the vaccination. Ventilation is also important to reduce the chances of getting infected by COVID virus. However, there is only one important thing in this article is regarding HEPA. HEPA, the article says we recommend air purifiers with a high efficiency and particulate air, that is high efficiency and particulate air HEPA filter. So this is an air filter. Some units come with activated carbon filters that reduce odors. So it only tells about there are different types of air filters and what air filters you have to choose to ensure that the chances of getting COVID virus can be reduced. So this is all you need to remember about this topic. There is a HEPA, that high efficiency particulate air. In this filter, some units come with HEPA comes with activated carbon filters that reduce odors. For example, volatile organic compound is responsible for formation of ozone, which may also be helpful. So however, electronic air fryers use ionizers and similar non-HEPA technology are not recommended. So it talks about that HEPA is one such technology that is recommended to use to reduce the chances of getting infected with the coronavirus. Now, another important topic is the importance of caste data. In this topic, we will discuss why this topic is in news, why there is a need for credible exercise of caste census, and then we'll also discuss a little bit about Indira Sahni case. So we will discuss anti-lynching bill. Delhi High Court upholds suspension of FCRA notes for rights body. So some few months back, the Delhi High Court has suspended the license of various NGOs receiving foreign funding. So what is FCRA? FCRA is a Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. This act regulates the contribution from foreign to the NGOs. So if the government believes that such foreign contribution is threat to the national security, or the purpose for which fund is giving is not being utilized, so government has the power, the central government, Ministry of Home Affairs has the power to suspend the license of that NGO. So Delhi High Court, so in this regard, Delhi High Court upholds suspension of FCRA notes for rights body, a rights body which has gone to court. That is right body is Commonwealth Health Rights Initiative. So Ministry of Home Affairs suspended CHRI's license to get foreign funding, and Delhi High Court has upheld the suspension by Ministry of Health and Ministry of Home Affairs. Another topic is India to make digital maps of all villages. In this topic, we will discuss one important scheme, that is Swamitva scheme, and then we will discuss about the drone technology that can be used. Another important topic is where is the Ukraine crisis headed to. In this topic, we will discuss an important region in Ukraine, that is Donbas. We'll discuss why Donbas is important and what is the current situation like. As we have already talked about previous article, that we will discuss the stand of various major countries across the world. Yes, the last topic is questioning the ban on online gaming platforms. So we have talked, I will mention that what all topics we'll be discussing under this article. So yeah, let's begin. So important topics for discussion: anti-lynching bill, caste census article, Russia-Ukraine crisis, questioning the ban on online gaming platform, India to make digital map of all villages. So now first topic is anti-lynching bills passed by 4 states. So in this topic, we'll discuss which states have enacted anti-lynching bill, anti-lynching an offense under IPC. Is it an offense under IPC or not? The stand of Union government and the stand of Supreme Court. So first thing you have to remember, the states that have enacted anti-lynching bill. There are 4 states: Rajasthan, Manipur, Jharkhand, and West Bengal. You do not have to remember the punishments that are there, what is the name of bill. So that is not important. You just have to remember that these are the 4 states which have enacted the anti-lynching bill. As far as anti-lynching bill is concerned, these bill have been enacted, but these bill have not been in place, which means that these are only enacted but not put in practice. So anti-lynching bill and offense under IPC. So anti-lynching bill is not a particular offense under IPC. There is no specific section or definition of anti-lynching bill. So the Union Home Ministry informed Parliament in 2019 there was no separate definition for lynching under IPC. So there is no separate definition of lynching under IPC. That is Indian Penal Code. Adding that such incident could be dealt with under section 300 and 302 of IPC, which pertain to murder. So Ministry of Home Affairs have informed the Parliament there is no separate definition of lynching or offense of lynching in IPC. However, such offense of lynching can be dealt under section 300 and 302 of IPC. These two sections particularly deals with attempt to murder and punishment of murder. So you have to remember 4 states that have enacted the bill: section 300, section 302 of IPC, and there is no separate lynching definition or separate offense in the IPC. Now the stand of Union government. So as I told you, Union government has told that there is no separate offense, separate definition or offense in IPC. It can be dealt under section 302 and 300. However, the Home Ministry had informed Parliament that government had decided to overhaul the IPC framed in 1860 and the Code of Criminal Procedure Code, and the mob lynching would also be examined by the committee. So there is an overhauling exercise going on to overhaul IPC, CRPC. So central government has told that it has decided to overhaul IPC, and the issue of lynching will be examined by the committee. So that is that union government is ready to, examine the issue of lynching, and if the need be, the lynching can be made a separate offense in the IPC. And what has the Supreme Court said? In 2018, the Supreme Court asked Parliament to make lynching a separate offense. So since Supreme Court is a judicial body, it cannot enact legislation. However, it has asked the Parliament to make lynching a separate offense. So there are three bodies: one is executive, legislature, and the judiciary. The function of executive is to execute, to implement the policies, laws and policy. Legislature is to make law. Judiciary is to interpret law. So these are the three important organs of government. These are the three important organs as per the constitution: executive, legislative, and judiciary. Executive implementing of laws and policy, legislature making law, judiciary to interpret law. So just you have to remember that there is no separate anti-lynching. There is no separate offense as such in the IPC, offense of lynching. It can be dealt under section 300 and 302 of IPC. Union government the union government has already mentioned in the parliament that it is ready to examine the offense of lynching, and then Supreme Court has also asked the parliament to enact a law regarding lynching. So now important topic, second topic is questioning the ban on online gaming platform. So we will discuss why in news, views of state government and views of court. So earlier this week, a division bench of Karnataka High Court is striking down major portion of Karnataka Police Amendment Act that was introduced by state government to ban online gaming. So Karnataka Police Amendment Act was launched, and in which there was also provision that seeks to ban online gaming and skill-based gaming platforms like rummy, poker, and fantasy sports that involve any wagering or risking money on an uncertain event. So wagering event is the event which have the possibility of happening or not. So it is like if x happens, x event happens, you will pay me a money. If y happens, the other person will be pay money. So it is a wagering event. So Karnataka government, not only the Karnataka government, apart from Karnataka, a similar law was introduced by Tamil Nadu government, which was struck down by the Madras High Court in August 2021. In September 21, the Kerala High Court has also, so various state governments such as Tamil Nadu, Kerala have enacted the laws banning online gaming. However, the high courts of these states have struck down the law. So why the high courts have struck down the law? So we'll discuss now. At first, we'll discuss what is the reason why states are banning online gaming. So online gamings like rummy and poker are addictive. It says these are addictive. There are monetary stakes, and children are not much aware of this. Much aware of the risk. And another, that it leads to depression. It can also mount problem of debt, and there have been instances of suicides as well. So on the basis of these issues, the various state governments have enacted law banning the online gaming. So these are the points on which the state government comes up with law, saying that because of these issues, we are banning the online gaming. Now we'll see on what grounds. The Karnataka High Court strike down the online gaming law. So these are the grounds on which the state government has enacted the law. Now we'll see the grounds on which the Karnataka High Court has struck down the law. Three major grounds. Number one, violation of fundamental right of trade and commerce, liberty and privacy, speech and expression. So first ground is that it violates the fundamental right of trade and commerce of people, their right of liberty and privacy, that what they wish to do, and it is their personal life, and speech and expression. Point number two, the law being manifestly arbitrary and irrational insofar as it did not distinguish between two different categories of games of skill and games of chance. The second important is the Karnataka High Court says that the law fails to distinguish between the games based on luck and based on skills. So that is why the law based on skill, it requires mind and it requires analytical skills, and law and game based on skills required implementation, use of mind, use of technical expertise, and use of various instincts. So it is not purely based on luck, rather it involves knowledge, rather it involves your efforts to understand the game and to implement how to play the game. So it is not purely based on luck. So, and the governments have failed to distinguish the games which are based on lucks and games based on skill. Lastly, the lack of legislative competence of state legislature to enact on online skill-based game. So, and third point is it says that it lacks the legislative competence. So under Schedule 7 of Constitution of India, both state and union government have been provided a list on the topics on which they both have the competency to enact the law. So the government says that the legislature of the state lack the legislative competence. So now the court held that games where substantial effort, knowledge, and skill is required are different from games of mere luck and chance. So three grounds. One is violation of fundamental rights, fundamental right of speech and expression, liberty and privacy, and trade and commerce. First point is this. Now second point is this, that it fails to distinguish, fails to differentiate between game based on luck and game based on skill. And third, it lacks legislative competence. So these are the three grounds on the basis of which the Karnataka High Court have struck down the online gaming law. So you have to remember that the question can be asked like what are the grounds on which the states have banned the online gaming. So these are the grounds that are mentioned here. So these are the grounds that are mentioned here. And then we have discussed three grounds on the basis of which the Karnataka High Court have struck down the law. Now another topic is India to make digital maps of all villages. So India plans to prepare digital maps of all its 6 lakh villages pan India. 3D maps will be 3D maps by Ministry of Science and Technology. So you have to remember the 3D map by Ministry of Science and Technology. Now, one important scheme here is, so there is not much in this news. It only talks about that 600 village maps will be produced and Ministry of Science and Technology is responsible. Now, another scheme is Swamitva scheme. This can be asked in your examination. The Swamitva scheme is survey of villages and mapping with improvised technology in village area. So by using the drone technology, the survey of village will take place and it will map the residential areas in the villages. So after mapping the residential areas, the property cards to the villagers will be provided. So after mapping, property card will be provided to the villagers. So it will enable the property holders to download their property card through SMS on their mobile phones. So the property holders will be able to download their property card through SMS on mobile phone and pave the way for villagers to use property as financial asset for taking loan and the financial. So what is important that in villages, most of the people are relying on agriculture and majority of farmers are low and poor and marginal farmers. So they do not have, so they have to go for informal money lending. However, with this exercise, they will get a property card. They will get property card of their residential area. And that property card can be used to get loans from banks. So it will help them in their agriculture and other financial issues. So this is important, that Swamitva scheme. And also important, Swamitva scheme is launched by Ministry of Panchayati Raj and Rural Development. So 3D digital maps and 3D maps will be prepared by Ministry of Science and Technology. Swamitva scheme launched by Ministry of Panchayati Raj and Rural Development. The objective of Swamitva scheme is to survey of village and prepare the property card holder. These property card holders will be given to the property holder, and the property holder will be able to use this property card to get finances from the banks that can be used for their agriculture and for their other financial things. So where is the Ukraine crisis headed to? So we'll discuss Russia-Ukraine crisis, the Donbas region. This is the important region, and this can be asked directly in the exam, that where the Donbas region lies and what is the importance of Donbas region in the current situation. So now we'll discuss first about the Russia-Ukraine crisis. Russia-Ukraine crisis. So there's a report that Russia planning to invade Ukraine. So Russia believes that Ukraine was an integral part of Russia before disintegration of Soviet Union. So however, what has prompted Russia to invade Ukraine? Also, one thing you need to remember that in 2014, Russia annexed Crimean Crimea. Crimea. This is the reason. Crimea annexed by Russia in 2014. Now this is the reason of Ukraine. This is Ukraine, and this whole reason is Russia. So why Russia? So what has prompted Russia now? The first thing is Ukraine planning to join NATO. Planning to join NATO. Second, Russia is threatened that if Ukraine becomes member of NATO, then Russia can be targeted by NATO countries, by NATO members. So how? So this is Ukraine, and when the Ukraine becomes part of NATO, then the NATO members such as UK, USA can put their defense system, like can can put their missile system in the near the border of Ukraine, and can also deploy their military near the Ukraine. So Russia believes that with Ukraine becoming part of NATO, the European countries or the US will come very close to the border of Russia. So US this region, so this border region. So it is threatened that Russia does not want any European or Western power to come near to the Russian border, as it will create a threat in the US, in the Russia. So this is why. So how not, now we need to know NATO. So NATO is important. So NATO was formed post World War II in 1949. So it is a collective defense mechanism. So what is collective defense mechanism? So in collective defense mechanism, let's say there are 10 countries. So out of these 10 countries, if one country is attacked by any other country is not part of NATO, so it is believed, if this country is attacked by another country X, so it is believed that all the 10 countries are attacked by X. Therefore, all the 10 countries will retaliate against the X. So this is the reason. So if Ukraine becomes part of NATO, Russia will be threatened, because now if anything happens to Russia, if there is any dispute, Russia or US or Russia tries to take any offensive actions against Ukraine, then all of the NATO countries will launch a strike against the Russia. So this is why Russia is threatened, that Russia does not want Ukraine to join NATO, so that it is not threatened by the European and Western power. So I have told you about Russia-Ukraine crisis. I have told you about Crimea, that Crimean Peninsula was annexed by Russia in 2014. And now I have told you about NATO also, and I have also discussed what is collective defense mechanism. So NATO was formed in 1949. So what is important in Donbas region? So Donbas region is this region here. This region is somewhere Donbas region. So now we'll discuss importance of Donbas region. So Donbas is a historical, cultural, and economic region in southeastern Ukraine. It is in the southeastern Ukraine, of whose territory is occupied by two unrecognized separatists, Donetsk People Republic and Luhansk. So this Donbas region is dominated by two separatists, that is Donetsk and Luhansk. Luhansk. And these are close to Russia. So now Russia has another option, that Russia can provide weapons to these community, these separatists, and then there can be civil war in the Ukraine. So one method is this, and another method is direct action, that is direct military action to annex Ukraine. So these are two methods. Now, importance of Donbas region. It is a coal mining region. It is an important coal mining region in Ukraine. So you have to remember where it lies, coal mining in Ukraine. So you have to remember the importance that there lies two separatist group, that is Donetsk and Luhansk. It can be asked. So you have to remember two separatist group, Donetsk and Luhansk. It is an important coal mining region for Ukraine, and it is a separatist group, and Russia can take this way to invade Ukraine by encouraging separatist people to launch a civil war in the country. So current situation. So Germany, Europe's largest economy and the destination of two Russians gas pipeline. So these Russian gas pipeline are Nord, sorry, Nord and Nord 2. These are gas pipeline that goes from Russia to Germany, and then from here the gas is distributed to the whole Europe. So this is, you have to remember the important pipeline, that is Nord 1 stream pipeline and Nord 2 is an important, Germany is an important country for Moscow. Berlin, which has warned of sanction if Russia invades Ukraine. So Germany has warned that Germany will impose sanctions on Russia if Russia invades Ukraine. Ukraine has also been sensitive towards Russia's security concern. It refused to send weapons to Ukraine and barred other NATO members from sending German-made weapons. Ukraine has also shown sign of compromise. Kyiv was also considering giving up its bid for NATO membership to our. So, so what is happening currently? So first, Germany has threatened Russia that it will impose sanctions. First thing is sanction, and Germany is important for Russia because through Russia, with the help of Nord Stream gas pipeline, the gas is supplied to Europe. So if there is a sanction, then Russia's economy might suffer. Russia's economy will suffer because Russia won't be able to export its gas to the European nation. So that's why Germany is threatening Russia that it will impose sanction. Number two, now to avert war, Ukraine is also considering that Ukraine will not join NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, established in 1949. Also, number three, that USA also told that they have no plan to deploy, they have no plan to deploy, sorry, so they have no plan to deploy offensive missile systems in Ukraine. US has also offered signing an agreement with Russia on ruling out deploying such missiles and stationing permanent troops on reciprocal terms. So three things: Germany has threatened Russia with sanctions, Ukraine considering not joining NATO, and President Joe Biden of USA has told that they do not have any plans to deploy offensive missile system, and also they are ready to sign a reciprocal agreement where both the countries will not deploy military near the Ukraine border. So these three important things I have to remember. So you have to remember Nord Stream gas pipeline, Nord and Nord 2, Donbas region. There are two separatist groups. One is Donetsk and another is Luhansk. And then you have to remember what is Germany's stand, what is Ukraine's stand, what is USA's stand, and then you have to remember NATO also. So now another important topic is importance of caste data. So why in news? Then we will discuss one of the most important judgment, the history of India, Indira Sawhney case, and why there is need for credible exercise. So why in news? So last month, the Supreme Court upheld the 27% quota for OBC classes in the All India quota seats for National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test, that is NEET, and reiterated that reservations for backward classes were not an exception, but an extension of the principle of equality under 15(1). So under Article 15(1), reservation in educational institutes, under Article 16, reservation in jobs. So these are the two articles you have to remember, that under 15, reservation in education, under 16, reservation in job. So in last month, Supreme Court upheld the 27% OBC quota in the NEET examination. So this is why this news is there. Now we'll discuss the Indira Sahni case. This is the landmark case on reservation. So Indira Sahni case upheld that 27% OBC reservation provided there is exemption for creamy layer. And this reservation, the number 27 was based on Mandal Commission report. Mandal Commission report. So you have to remember Indira Sahni judgment. You have to remember the Mandal Commission report that it is related to 27% OBC quota. And Indira Sahni case upheld the 27% OBC reservation provided there is exemption for creamy layer. Indira Sahni case also confined that total reservations shall not exceed 50%. Except in certain exceptional situations, the reservation shall not exceed 50%. And it struck down EWS, economically weaker sections reservation. So these three things that you have to remember from Indira Sahni judgment. And then you have to remember these two articles, Article 15 and Article 16 of Constitution of India. So why there is a need for credible exercise? So there is a need for credible exercise because it can be said that the faith of our citizen, because without any data, without any credible data, if you come up with any scheme, that scheme will be doubted, be it reservation, be it any welfare scheme. Therefore, the importance of credible data becomes very much relevant in order to show that the actions which are taken by government has certain backing, and that is why they are coming with such actions. So even though data concerning the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes have been included in the census, there is no similar data. So when the census is conducted, the data collected regarding SCs and STs, however, no data related to OBCs. And socioeconomic caste census for the first time happened in 2011 has been called faulty and unreliable. In the Indira Sahni case, the Supreme Court held that state must conclude the backwardness of particular class of people only after a proper assessment and objective evaluation. So in Indira Sahni court had also said that when you come up with a particular scheme that you are providing reservation on this, you need to come up with a proper assessment and objective evaluation. And without that proper data, you cannot say that these are the group of people that needs benefit from the government. So that is why data becomes important. And you have to remember that socioeconomic caste census happened in 2011, and in census data related to SC and ST is collected, but not to OBC. Now, caste data will enable independent research not only in the question of who does and does not need affirmative action, but also into the effectiveness of this measure. So this line says that caste data will tell that who needs reservation and who do not need reservation. And it will also tell that whether the effects of reservation are going to that particular community. So if not, so it will also tell the effectiveness of these measures. Also, as long as reservation results from violent agitation and political pressure, attempts at any affirmative action will always be under the shadow of caste and class politics. So data is also not there because there is also caste and class politics. So this this caste politics is also influencing the democratic system of India. So this is where data also becomes important. So when there is no data, the political party comes and they promises that we will provide you this much reservation, we will provide this much reservation. And because there is no clear data, therefore that's easy for them to make such claims that such and such communities are backward and they need reservation. So the issue of reservation becomes a caste and class politics. Impartial data and subsequent research might save the bona fide attempts of uplift of the most backward classes from the shadow of caste and class politics, and be informative to people on both sides of the spectrum for and against reservation. This article also says that when the data will come, we'll get to know that which section of the society, which particular caste is the most backward class, and accordingly the policies can be framed to uplift from their backwardness. And also when there is a data, then it can be easy to make arguments. When there is a data that such and such percentage of population is really backward, then it can be easy for both sides of the party, that those who are in favor of reservation, those who are against reservation, to understand that such and such data is there, such and such percentage of people is backward, and therefore we need to bring policies in order to make sure they also come at equal point, they also come at equal level. And that is why it is easier to like come up with such policies when you have backing by data. So backing by data becomes important for framing any policies. So it says it is not reservation that creates the current divide in society, but the misuse or the perceived use of reservation. So it says because of there is lack of data, so that the reservation does not create like divide in the society, but because of the lack of data, there are political claims. And because without backing of data, the other party, other section of the society also does not understand that why do they need reservation. But when we will have credible data that this is the percentage of people that required reservation, that required other welfare scheme, then then it becomes easier for them to understand the plight of that section of the society. And therefore it becomes more easier for the government also to launch the welfare scheme. That is why data becomes very important. So for anything, like for any scheme, for any welfare activities, data is important, because until unless we do not know the data, until unless we do not know what percentage of people are suffering from what problems, how can we come up with data just by an imaginative or speculative number? Therefore, for whatever reason, data is important. And in next census will happen in 2022. It was supposed to happen in 2021, but because of COVID, it got postponed. Therefore, there's a debate also going on that caste census, including SC, SC, and OBC, should be there, so that clear data can be there and accordingly the policies can be framed. So that's all for today's news. Now it's time for G quiz. The first question is, which states have enacted the anti-lynching bill? Your options are Rajasthan, Manipur, West Bengal, all of the above. The correct answer is all of the above. So there are 4 states, these 3 and Jharkhand. In this, we have discussed that the anti-lynching is not a separate offense under IPC. It can be dealt under Section 300 and Section 300, not 302 of IPC. Second question, Indira Sahni judgment restricted the reservation to what percentage? Your options are 50, 40, 30, 20. Correct answer is 50%. In this topic, we have discussed that Mandal Commission 50% reservation, 27% to up. This is upper limit of total reservation, 27% to OBC. Then we have discussed that this Indira Sahni judgment struck down EWS reservation. Question number 3, Swamitra scheme was launched by which ministry? Your options are Ministry of Home Affairs, Ministry of Science and Technology, Ministry of Panchayati Raj and Rural Development. Option D, none of the above. The correct answer is Ministry of Panchayati Raj and Rural Development. We have discussed the objective of this is to prepare property card in villages. So drone technology will be used. Drone will be used to map the property, and accordingly card will be prepared. And this card can be used for financial purposes, like for getting loans and for agriculture and for other purpose. Question 4, Nord Stream gas pipeline originates from which country? Your options are Germany, Russia, Ukraine, and none of the above. Correct option is Russia. I've told you that this is Russia, here is Germany. These 2 pipeline, that is Nord 1 and Nord 2, comes to Germany. This is gas pipeline, and then through Germany the whole gas is distributed to the European countries. And because of this leverage of Germany, the Russia is also like considering not invading Ukraine, because Germany has threatened Russia with the sanction that if Russia invades Ukraine, then it will impose sanction, and it can also ban this Nord Stream gas pipeline, and that will impact the economy of Russia. So which of the following is the ground for striking down the law banning online gaming? Your options: violation of fundamental rights of trade and commerce, liberty and privacy, speech and expression, the law being manifestly arbitrary and irrational insofar it did not distinguish between two different categories of game, that is game of skill and game of chance. And third, lastly, lack of legislative competence of state legislature. So the correct option is D. So we have discussed in this topic, we have discussed the ground on which state government is banning online game, that is addictive, indebtedness, suicide, depression. So these are the issues. And it was banned on the ground that it violates fundamental right. It is manifestly arbitrary because the legislation does not distinguish between game of chance and game of skill. Game of skill require knowledge and application of mind. Application of mind. So that is why the Karnataka High Court has struck down the law. And third is that the state legislature lacks the legislative competence. State legislature lacks the legislative competence. So we have discussed the grounds for banning the law, and then we have discussed the grounds on which the high courts have struck down the law. So we have also discussed the three states, that Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and Karnataka enacted the law, but these three have been struck down by the different courts, like in Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and Kerala. So that's all for this session. Stay logical with Vidhigya, your best pal in CLAT Preps.